Date being August 1st, 6:30 PM. Call the meeting to order. Will Kalina Graham take roll call, please?
Michael Lonnie?
Here.
Mike Delavecchia?
Here.
Gail Denayo?
Here.
David Bounds?
Here.
Jay Tibnan?
Here.
Edwin Bonas?
Here.
And Bill Contardo?
Here. With that being said, I think Mike will fill in for
Charlie, at least.
for her. Right. Okay. With us tonight is Dean Thefferin and Brandy Laughlin, Director and Assistant Director of the Planning Department. And the first item that we will talk about tonight is the acceptance of the meeting, minutes of the meeting from July 14th. This is a little change to what we normally do. So can we have a motion on that to accept this meeting?
July 14th.
Approve the minutes.
Moved it and seconded by Michael. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Just as an aside, we don't have to do that. We don't have to move and second it. You can just say, are there any objections? And if there are none, you can just accept
I
them.
want everybody to get their 2 cents, but I guess so.
Okay.
The first thing on no presentations, no extensions this evening. A public hearing and consideration. Public hearing, possible considerations in a vote tonight would be on 38 Eastman Shore, proposal to replace a structure and put up a new structure. This has not been accepted yet, so I need a motion to accept this application. That's complete.
So moved.
And seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? All right, okay. We'll open the public hearing at this time at 6:32 PM. And the applicant, who might the applicant be? Would you come up and give us your proposal, please?
I will try. And I'll try and work with this easily. Okay. My name's Robert Pollock Jr. I am with Terrain Planning and Design. I'm representing Matthew and Tracy Bosher, who have a property on 38 Eastman Shore North, a private road.
Is his mic on? Excuse me. Colleen, okay.
Okay.
I got a bad ear also, so you...
I have, I'm getting old enough, my voice is disappearing also, so.
Oh, that's the next thing to go, okay. Now you had to break the news to me, go ahead.
Their proposal, I believe you already know, is to remove a structure that was built in 1960, according to the assessors map records, and construct a new structure that will hopefully meet today's building codes. I'll give you I'll try and speak loud. The property is Eastman Shore Road. The property is .4 acres. The existing lot has a garage on it, as well as the residential structure. Lake Winnisquam is located down here. The access to this, the existing lot and structure is through the neighbor's property. We have this property, today, the structure violates the side yard setbacks, and it's within the wetland buffer area. That's the way it exists today. There's no way.
What did you say the access was through again? Could you say it again?
Access is through the neighbor's property
The neighbor's property.
today. today.
Good.
Okay? We've been to the zoning board, and we've granted the variance from the side yard setbacks. We've been to the Conservation Commission here, and because this is a private road, I believe we're on the agenda for the city council for August 12th to get permission to get a building permit to build a new structure on a private road. I'll just go over this quickly. This was the plan that I turned in originally to the planning board, and the structure has stayed in the same place. What has changed is that we had to find a place to put a septic system, and found the septic system could only fit up in this area up in here.
Excuse me, where is it now,
What's that?
the septic system?
The septic system. Unfortunately, it's not shown on this plan. But the septic system presently exists between the garage and the house.
Okay.
Anyway, DES has been after the owner to get that information. We finally got that information. That information is now turned over to DES so that we can get the appropriate waivers that we need to get for the septic system. That is in the works at this point. So anyway, the new septic system is located up in here. The driveway now comes off of East Shore Road north, rather than go through the property, go through the neighbor's property. The applicant has written a letter, well, I think it's in the file anyway, expressing that they are going to extinguish any rights over the neighbor's property once this driveway is put in place.
Do they have some kind of an easement over that property?
It's not, within the deeds, it's not clear what they have, but it's going to be recorded in the registry of deeds that they're going to extinguish any rights that they have over that property.
And the neighbors are,
Neighbors are okay with that. Yeah, they prefer not to have someone running through the driveway.
well, I can imagine that.
And the other good part to this, if there is a good part, is that if there was any emergency for this building, and there's now direct access to the building versus having to go through the neighbor's yard and hope that there's no cars parked in the driveway in the way to access this building, access this lot. So East Shore Drive, the new septic system, the house has not changed on any of the plans, any of the proposed plans. There is this, I call it a drainage way down through here. This drainage way starts up at the I'll see in a moment, up at the baseball field, and works its way down through through various yards, and even it appears what happens. Whenever there's a storm, there's a big slug of water that goes down through it. Other than that, it's dry. So anyway, so here again, because the lot's so small, there's no way we cannot violate something. Side yard setbacks or the wetland buffers. So we've tried. the garage is no longer exists, it's gonna be part of the building. So we hopefully the words brought the more the conformance by eliminating that impact in the wetland buffer. We've moved the building, well, not we've moved, the new building will be further away from the side yard setbacks, which is
Further away from what? I'm sorry, I didn't, further away from what?
from the side yard here.
Okay.
Right now, the existing building is closer to the side yard than the proposed building is.
So what's the proposed building? How far away is it going to be?
It's gonna be 9 feet rather than 2 feet. So it's not property line.
So from the sideline, it's going to be 9 feet.
Yes.
You're going to impact more of the wetland than the old structure did, right?
Yes, yes, there is.
I have a quick question for you. This is a history thing. It's okay. Do you have another, is there another page that I'm missing giving you the agent, to be agent for, also for Tracy? Because I just see Matt's signature on this.
You're not doing anybody a favor.
Can you get one to the planning department shortly?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Only because there's 2 owners on there, and history has shown that sometimes there were 3 owners and only 2 knew about it, and the 3rd did not, and we had issues down the
Bill,
road.
could you restate that? I was distracted for a moment. Could you just say what you just said again, if you don't mind?
There's 2 owners of the property, and we have this gentleman representing Matthew for the agent, but I don't have any, I didn't see Tracy's signature anywhere, so I didn't know if there was maybe a piece of paper I was missing. So he said that he could get it to the planning department in 24 hours, so I'm fine with that.
I hope they don't get a divorce between that.
Don't look at me, I don't know nothing.
That's all.
Anybody, you all,
What's the status for your septic system?
What's that?
What's the status of your approval for the septic system?
Septic system? Okay, we've applied for a waiver. The DES received the waiver form, and I can tell you, if you hold on just a second.
As soon as you...
And the DES has asked for some additional information, which Brown Engineering is providing them.
What do they want to know?
They want to know, first of all, obviously the lot doesn't meet the, lot does not meet loading from total flow. And they want a tax record card showing that the building was built prior to 1998.
That it existed prior to 1998.
It was built 1960. That card has been turned over to the engineer. Specified,
Does that get you over that hurdle?
what's that?
Does that get you over that hurdle, that it was existing prior to 1998?
Yes. Well, but there's more.
Okay.
Okay. Specify that the dwelling meets the conditions for year-round use, and if this design for conversion to year-round use is considered new construction, it must be meet environmental ENV WQ 1004, and the Brown Engineering is taking care of that issue. Design a location for the EDA outside the well radius, and provide details of the plan to document that the EDA a well cannot be placed in any other location. Brown Engineering is taking care of that.
What's the date of that letter?
This letter?
Yeah.
July 19th. Provide encroachment waiver from the abutter as well. We're working with the abutter to get that done. Provide applicable waivers, including stream and update prior waivers. That's been done. Provide a copy of the shoreline permit. We have the shoreline permit already. And provide location of the of where the existing septic system is located. And that was turned over to Brown Engineering yesterday. So this waiver thing is in the works.
Does anybody have an idea how long that process takes?
I personally, I don't. I haven't. I've been in this business for a long time, and I haven't had to deal with waivers before. I'm not gonna make anything pretty here, but Brown Engineering basically says if we get this information, it should not take too long.
Well,
That's all I can say. I don't know.
and that's what all dealing with DES, you're saying?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, my experience has been it takes minimum 40 days. That's if you got all your i's dotted and your t's crossed,
Yep.
so.
Take some time.
Usually when you're dealing with the state, it takes...
Are you familiar with this letter?
Yeah.
No, not the letter, no. But we know that they've been before DES, and that there are issues, and that they're working the issues. You'll note under our suggested conditions that it is conditional upon them receiving all their permits. So, I mean,
Well, that-
obviously, if they don't get their permit for a new septic system, this whole thing's a no-go. So,
I just want to make sure that we understand
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'll be honest, if we don't get enough permits,
And what's your status with the Conservation Commission?
We have an updated memo for you.
Why don't we
Have
get
we
the
seen
staff's
that?
report, and then we'll just, because he seems to be done, and we'll get a staff report
I
right now.
have not seen Conservation Commission.
Is this new?
Copy? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure they all
Copy?
Usually dealing with the DES, you have to deal with Darlene.
Yeah,
She's the
Chairman, I
one...
have a request for the gentleman.
yes, Scott, yep.
On the DES approval date of May 26, on item number 11, the photographs documenting the downsport gutter to bioretention.
Yeah.
You're submitted to the department. Can the planning board also have copies of that, of the photographs too?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to put that in for us?
I don't think there's enough for us.
There's not enough for us.
Dean, you want to go over this, or
You get along.
Randy, one of the other?
We'll read along
Mine?
together.
You look at your copy?
You two read along together.
The one that we just talked about.
Oh, I see. Share, I'll go make some more copies.
I'd be happy with sharing.
Take this one.
Yeah,
We're sharing
that'd
over
be
here.
good.
No,
We're good.
You want me to? Oh.
This is an extensive.
The Conservation Commission is recommending that the applicant keep the wetland buffer at 20 feet instead of 10 feet if possible. They prefer that the applicant keep all the construction impacts out of the wetland itself. The commission recommends that silt socks be used as a method of erosion control and maintained throughout the project. In their agreement with the use of porous pavers in the project, I think the understanding is the driveway is going to be porous pavers, is that right?
Yes, there's gonna be,
Okay.
there's porous pavers up in here to capture the water coming off the street, and porous pavers down here. Drive in the garage.
It's recommended that the demolition of the current structure occur when Lake Winnisquam is at its lowest level in the fall. And if there are any large trees to be removed from the property, the Conservation Commission prefers to be notified. These are all pretty straightforward, and they are recommendations, and some of them can or cannot be done, and that'll be,
Getting on to the removal of the trees, does that fall into the guidance that we have on ratios and number of trees that can exist, number of trees that can be cut down?
There's-
Is that all on-
Yeah, I mean, the state has some pretty good regulations, and
Well, I mean,
we
does he
have our
conform to
shoreline
that, or is he
protection.
going to be outside the boundaries of that?
He's outside of the shoreline, yeah.
Outside the shoreline boundaries, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, do we need to incorporate these recommendations into our conditional acceptance?
If you choose to do so. They are not part of the staff review as conditions of approval,
Right.
because we just received the memo today.
I understand that. And the question is, if we're going to give them approval, shouldn't we incorporate these recommendations into the approval?
I think that you would want to incorporate the recommendation about silt socks into the conditions of approval.
Why not keep the wetland buffer of 20 feet instead of 10 feet?
I don't,
That's,
I'm not sure that that is possible.
that's not possible.
It might be able to be,
Can you keep your construction impacts out of the wetland itself?
Yes, yeah, oh, yes, yes. And the silt socks are being used already, it's already on the plan.
And what do you think about waiting till the fall and the lake being down to do this?
That may be, that I mean,
You don't know.
well, obviously, the applicant wants to move along as quickly as possible, but the other part of it, if I read the conditions of the staff, they gave us some specific dates when things had to be done, and I don't know whether those dates would be in conflict with that recommendation.
You know, is it a given that they'll lower the lakes every year at a given time, or they do it periodically?
Every 2 years,
Every 2 years. So did that already occur?
and it will be this year.
I'm sorry,
They did not do it last year, so they will do it this year.
this year.
Is there anybody here from the Conservation Commission? No.
I'm sorry?
Is there anybody here from the Conservation Commission?
No.
But, yeah, comment? Just because I have a property on the water, so I'm familiar, they've been much tougher with us than I'm seeing in the recommendations here.
I can't hear
And
you,
us
Liz.
being in our,
I can't hear you.
I'm saying that the Conservation Commission is usually very tough about requirements on wetlands, and I'm finding them to be a little more generous in this statement than I've been previously exposed to their comments.
Okay.
So they obviously, I think, believe that the topography supports this expansion. Sometimes it relates to the topography as well, and the positioning of the wetlands on the lot, not just the fact that there are wetlands.
Well, I'm wondering about their recommendation to keep it 20 foot instead of 10 feet if possible. And we know it's not possible. I mean, what's going on here?
Well, this is the first I've heard about it, so
But that fits their recommendation, doesn't it? So if it's not possible, then they're still working within that recommendation.
Well, I got some concerns about it, but,
Yeah.
what would be the impact to the applicant of continuing this to the next planning board meeting?
At this point, I don't think there would be, well, obviously, the applicant wants to get moving along, but it's not, I don't believe it's gonna hurt him any, but the problem is,
Well, I want to know what I want to understand from the Conservation Commission, and we just got these, what the basis of these recommendations are fine. I mean, silt socks was already in your plan, wasn't it?
yes, it was.
And porous pavers was already in your plan?
Yes.
So they got, one, wait till the fall before you demolish the building. I don't know what the rationale for that is. If there's a good rationale for it, I want to know. If there's a bad rationale, if it's not reasonable, I want to understand that. And I want to understand the wetland buffer issue. It's not that, like, I'm opposed you're further intruding on the wetlands for this project because you've taken lots of steps to ensure that you're going to do everything you can to preserve the wetlands and maintain it. I'm confident that your application addresses those issues, but I am perplexed by a last-minute recommendation from the Conservation Commission that throws you a couple of curveballs. I'm just perplexed.
Well, first of all, as far as demolition of the building is concerned, we have to have erosion control methods all between the lake and the building. That's already shown on the plan.
I told you, you don't have to convince me that
Okay.
what you've done in terms of your preparation does as much as you can to address those issues, to address the lake issues, the wetland issues. I'm not concerned about that.
Okay.
I'm concerned about stuff that I don't understand where it comes from.
Okay.
That's what I'm concerned. I'm not blaming you, and I'm not saying I wouldn't support this application. What I'm saying is, I got some questions that I would like some answers to before I got on board with the conditional approval.
Yeah, okay.
I got I mean, what kind of approval are you looking for from the state? Would any of that preclude what we're looking at here?
No,
None of it would preclude that?
not as far as I'm concerned, no, we're not.
Okay, yes.
I had a question, and I apologize for coming in late. I wondered about the leach field and whether it could support a new three-bedroom house, given that it was much smaller before. Is there room on the lot? It seems very close. That's
That's
question one.
That's the reason why they have to get the waivers.
Oh, okay.
It's
And you said that it might infringe on the people next door?
what's that?
That leach field?
What's the well for the neighbor is closer than 75 feet.
Right.
So-
So you're looking for,
So the DES has asked us to get a waiver from the neighbor also to go along with our waiver. So,
well, excuse me, why would the neighbor's waiver have any impact on what they're thinking if, in fact, you can't put a leaching field that close to a well? I mean, I don't see, why is it the individual's decision? I always thought it was state regulated.
it is state regulated.
So the state says to you, the people next door says you can get closer to my well, and they agree to that? Then that is acceptable to them if they agree upon that?
That's my understanding.
I would assume that'd be part of their conditional building
Yes.
permit.
Oh, yeah.
Assume so.
Well, that's true, but I mean, the thing is, you know,
It'll be part of the DES permit for sure,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
Has anything to do with the state, has to be a condition like that.
understand that. But usually you have something that's regulated that says you have to be a distance well in septic. You have to be a given distance away. And if I decide, let's say I'm the guy next door who owns that property, that you're coming infringing on my well, but I happen to own that land next door, I say, yeah, go for it.
Plus in Laconia,
But you see what I'm saying? So I don't understand how that really works with the state. And why, how can an individual say they don't mind putting a leaching field closer to their well, and the state goes along with that? I don't understand the mechanism in
It
it.
seems to be more of a question for the state. If they're going to permit it, then that's their problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know,
But they have the rules because of a health issue.
I don't know if it's just for a health issue. You know, they're the ones looking over the plans, so if they're going to approve it, then they must be saying it's healthy.
But, well, Mike, what I heard was, and I don't know if you heard it the same way, what I heard was, if the neighbor says next door that it's acceptable to
I think
them.
there's probably more to it than that.
Yeah, I
He's
don't know.
just not
That's what
able
I
to
heard. I don't
defend
know.
the state's
Yeah.
law, and
basically.
he shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
The state DES subsurface has asked us to get a letter of waiver from the neighbor. What the state does with that at this point, I don't know. They may say, oh, fine, or they may say, hey, sorry.
Is
Yes.
it a shared well? Is
What's
that,
that? No.
is it,
No.
they each have their own
Each have
wells?
their own well, and they each have their own septic systems.
So do you think they're truly aware of the distance? That's,
Oh, yeah.
maybe that's the
Oh, no,
question.
we
They're truly aware that there's a distance issue there,
We
okay.
have to show on a plan to DES where all the wells are and where all the septic systems are.
Do you have any diagrams in your application that show us that? I don't think you do. But then I haven't seen the whole file.
First of all, to answer your question directly, that I don't believe it's in the file.
The other thing that will come up is the city of Laconia has private water and sewer and city water and sewer. And the difference in the two lots could be it right there.
Very well. The assumption is that the wells are feeding water to those houses, that's the assumption.
Right. It's either private water and sewer or city water and sewer.
So the assumption is private.
It's a well, individual well, and an individual septic system there.
That's correct.
Private or is it city?
It's private.
Private.
Right.
Okay, all right. That could be the difference right there.
So I have one more.
Private.
Yes.
So under the new plan, one of the other concerns or questions that I would have for the Conservation Commission to do is the runoff from the driveway and the sloping down to the water. Would it be increasing because of this extended driveway?
No.
So it's going to be diverted into the wetlands, or?
No, that's the reason why we have the porous pavement here, and we have the bioswale here.
Okay, so it won't get into the lake.
Mathematically, there'll be less stormwater going into Lake Winnebago than there is today.
Okay.
So what
Is
mechanism?
that right?
From our review of the plans, it appears to be right.
Okay.
I think, so we're making a lot of assumptions based on the vagueness of this memo. Is it possible to require that if they're going to provide a memo like this, which is extremely vague, uses words like "if possible,"
Right.
and other things, that for us to take it even remotely serious, instead of trying to ask him questions on these kinds of assumptions, that they actually explain why they're making this recommendation?
Yeah, I think that's what the
If
council
they're
said.
not
He
going to have a
wants-
representative
He's not putting
here,
him on the
is
hot
that,
seat.
does that make sense?
It doesn't.
We asked that of our planning,
Like,
staff.
he's not putting him on the hot seat, he's,
Well, I know, but we're asking him, like.
I know, I mean,
You know what? I'm
maybe
gonna
some
make
of
an
this is
assumption, and they're
rhetorical, I
asking
guess,
him to
you know?
answer something
kind
that
of a-
could not be.
maybe there's some of this
exist
is
at all.
rhetorical.
It's kind of a moot point in a way, and let me tell you why. Because what I'm considering is continuing it for 30 days. And this is what I'm considering, continuing it for 30 days so that we get some answers to this vague memo. He doesn't have some of the answers to this vague memo. And he's still got, and he's still got to go to get his permits from DES.
Yeah, it's huge.
And as I understand it from the guy who knows, that's a 40-day
Anyway,
process.
your clock,
All longer.
when did they log you in on your request?
So that's what I,
They have a minimum, a maximum 40-day
Yeah.
window, whatever it
I
is.
haven't,
But they could extend that,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
could push it out.
where they've answered our first request for waiver, hopefully it's been extended out.
if we continue it for 30
When-
days,
when
by
did
that
that
time,
happen?
you'll be before the
Just
city
curious.
council. You'll either have or have not your approval for the road from the city council.
Right.
And the
You'll be in a
septic
better
issue,
position to
the
tell us
septic
where
and
we're
well
at
issue. Yep.
With
Well,
DES.
with DES.
Yep.
The Conservation Commission can either beef up their memo or make it a little less vague with respect to this.
Or come before this
You'll
board and
have time
explain it,
to
right.
address it. And I don't know, that's my inclination.
I agree with you. You were going to say, what about the, explaining it from the Conservation Commission?
Well, I was just agreeing with
Okay, all
David to
right.
extend
So
this.
we could have it in writing, or we could have them come in before the board and explain, whatever you want to do, whatever the will of the
I
board is.
I
Whatever the will
don't
of the
care,
board
it's
is.
not my
Whatever
intent
the
to
will of the
grill the
board is.
Conservation Commission. It's just my intent to understand
I
what it
hear
is
you
they're
clearly. I
recommending.
hear you clearly. Okay, so, any more input, any more questions? Yes,
How does the staff feel about this?
Let's open it to the public, see if there's
Well,
anybody here for it.
it's not public hearing I think, at this point, but go ahead. Good. You had a question?
No. He had a question.
Yeah.
Or a comment.
If I understand the RSA's relative to the private road, the planning board needs to give the city council a signal that putting a new building on the site will be okay, before the city council can accept, recommend issuing the building permit. And my discussion on this, in this part of the case, this part, is we already have a single-family home on here, and we're not gonna increase the traffic flows in here, but we're replacing it with a single-family home.
So you want the planning board to make a recommendation to the city council?
I believe, I don't have my RSA's with me, but I believe that's what needs to happen.
What's up with that?
We have an
I mean,
RSA.
that would be your prerogative, but, I mean, my plan was to go to the city council meeting, represent the planning department in this matter, and we
That's
have no objections to,
That's fine. That'll
we have
work.
no objections
You
to
don't need a
granting.
planning
I
board
mean, the purpose
vote on
of,
that.
the purpose of getting at this point in time anyway, because of other issues, the purpose of getting the city council approval is to make sure that the waiver of liability has been registered at the county, because this is a private road.
That's correct.
So, I mean, once we're assured that that's happened, I mean, planning staff has absolutely no problem with this.
And why would you?
Right.
They're building a better driveway.
Better mousetrap.
Better house.
Okay.
So the acceptance of this applicant, and if we end the public input right now, okay?
No, you gotta take public input.
And we're just saying, if we end the public input and we vote on it, right?
We have to
That
take
means-
public input first.
I understand that,
Okay.
and then I'm just giving the sequence of events, okay?
Yeah.
And then we vote on it. That means that we're voting on him going forward to the city council, or we're voting on the fact that we need more information? What are we saying here? I want to get
All you're
clear.
voting on tonight is granting conditional use permit with some conditions.
So we're granting,
The other
we're
stuff has to-
granting
We
a
don't,
conditional
we don't
permit.
need a vote for the city council.
Right.
Dean can carry that ball to the
Okay.
city council on our second Tuesday in August, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
But-
my understanding, too.
But for clarification, we agree that any vote would be conditional upon hearing the answers of the Conservation Commission.
I'm just going to move to continue this to the next
Okay,
hearing.
okay.
That's what that,
Well, then you're ready for
that's
that.
what I intend to do.
Okay, good.
Okay, any public input at this time?
Need staff review first.
Pardon?
Staff review.
Oh, staff
Well,
review.
after the public hearing.
Okay, any public input? Well,
Okay.
Anybody?
I thought that was just staff review,
All
but
right.
it isn't?
No, that's the
Okay.
Conservation Commission.
No public review.
Well, we still have a staff review.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so you have our staff recommendations. Conditions include getting all federal and state permits. The wetland buffer shall not be impacted by construction activities. The applicant has already agreed to that. There shall be no wetlands degradation during construction. We need a certified wetland scientist to oversee the wetland restoration and creation. And then we have the condition about the building permit going before the city council and the recording of the municipal responsibility and liability limitation. We're looking for the usual conditions of the landscaping survival security. We want to plan, we have need to have the plans filed, and then the as-built plan, and then the standard duration of approval and the appeal process.
Thank you. And no public input, so we'll close the public hearing, and what's the desire of the board? Yes.
I'm going to move to continue this application, not the acceptance, but the conditional approval, till the next meeting of the planning board in September. so we can get some clarification with respect to the last-minute conservation memorandum that we received tonight. And I don't think it impacts the applicant because there's a lot that's got to be done independent of the 30 days that we're going to consume here by kicking it out till September. So that's my motion.
A second on that motion?
Second.
Discussion? One thing I would like to know is, and this is part of my discussion, or part of the discussion what we're doing here, I'd like to know how that works with the relationship of the neighbor approving, I guess it sounds like an approval, for them to encroach on the septic system to the well. Is that acceptable? I don't know. I would like to get that cleared up if we can. And anything from the, other than its conservation, anything else, anybody else to say?
I'm fine with getting clarification with respect to, what is it, 75 feet? The impact?
Are you looking for us to get that clarification?
Or whoever gets, yeah, if you don't mind, that would be enlighten the board as far as the mechanics of some of these things, that would be good, or at least that issue.
I mean, as we've been, processing this application, we have been aware all along of the issues concerning their proposed septic system, and that they are getting their permits. And, we're not in the DES business, and I don't want to be in the DES business. And, usually we leave it as, if you get your permits, we are all good to go. And I think we still feel that way.
Well, I feel that way too, but I just want to understand how that works, if you don't mind.
If you want some
informing the board
clarification on that,
how that works, yeah, the
we will
mechanisms.
attempt to find out.
I'd appreciate that. Okay, we'll call the vote. The vote on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, all in favor. Passes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See you next month.
Yes, sir.
Next one is Eversource Transmission Line Project. This hasn't been accepted, so we need a motion to accept the application as complete.
So moved.
Need a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay. And we'll open the public hearing at 7:13. So will the applicant come forward?
Thanks so much for hearing us tonight. I'm Tracy Tarr, a wetland scientist with GZA Geo-Environmental. We did the wetland delineation and wetland permitting for the project. I'm here with a number of folks from Eversource. Donna Keeley, who assists with municipal outreach and will provide updates on the project as it progresses. Kurt Nelson, who is in charge of permitting in New Hampshire. The project manager, Walt Belinsky, and Garrett Lusky, the engineer on the project. So we want to cover any potential questions you might have tonight. And Kalina is fully aware, because I leave my business cards wherever I go, but there's a few of our cards. So the L176 transmission line extends from the Webster substation in Franklin to the Laconia substation. It's roughly 13.5 miles long. And it was originally built in 1977, and it's showing significant signs of wear. If you read the application, you saw most of the poles show significant damage from woodpeckers. And it's funny to laugh about that, we have an average of 14 holes in each transmission line, but it's a significant reliability and safety issue. And then when modeled in CAD, which Garrett can talk about in more detail, a lot of these structures fail, and so it's a priority for Eversource to replace these to maintain the integrity of the line. The good news is, there's only 17, we say structures, I'm just saying that's just another word for utility pole, 17 structures in Laconia. Only one is located in wetland. And because it's a rebuild project where the existing structure is maintained with the replacement, they can't be put back in the exact same spot, but they're in very close proximity to the existing pole. This is not an expansion of the right-of-way. There are no new lines. It's literally to replace that existing infrastructure in that line.
How long did you say it was, 13.5 miles?
The whole transmission line,
Yeah.
just so you have the scope. And then, you're probably more focused on Laconia, right?
Yeah.
It extends from, I'll hand these plans out. Being a linear project, these are typically done at 11 by 17 to show stretches of the project rather than one big plan. So if anybody wants a set, I'm happy to hand them out. Okay, I see those are computers. If anybody reaches out, I'll hand them out one. Perhaps one on this side.
There you go.
They're to scale, even though they're 11 by 17.
You can have it back, too.
And the staff is very familiar. Thank you. So you can see the front page is the extent in Laconia.
Okay.
And we start from the Belmont Town Line and work roughly east-northeast up to Laconia Substation. And just to orient to you what is showing on the poles, the plans, I mean, the red circles are the proposed structures, and that lighter yellow circle next to it are the existing structures. And being a rebuild project, we really can't go out of that existing alignment too much because we're matching up to other structures that are existing. But again, the nice thing that we're happy to report is that there's only one structure in wetlands. That's on page 2. And thanks to Planning and Conservation Commission staff, I was able to do a site walk out with Evan Rathburn. We did look at that one site, and he reported back to the Conservation Commission before they issued their formal input. And during that site walk, we talked about during construction, there'll be construction monitoring from wetland scientists throughout the course of the project. We will monitor those erosion controls on a daily basis, which are often straw wattles along the perimeter wetlands. And then those yellow boxes you see around structures in wetlands are timber matting, and that timber matting is temporarily placed to provide a safe level platform and to prevent wetland rutting. So most of the impact for this project is temporary and will be restored at the end of the project. Those mats are taken out, and we monitor the seeding and mulching of the areas that are restored. And as an existing right-of-way, it's cleared and mowed on a regular basis, so it would be maintained in its current condition after we're gone. And of course, the old poles are removed from the right-of-way. Now, because those woodpeckers are pretty persnickety and determined, the wood structures will be replaced with steel, which is pretty common for transmission lines. And there'll be 2 concrete foundations at structures 153 and 167. But you will see those are not in jurisdiction. 153 is not an upland buffer or wetland.
53.
And that's the same for 167, but just for your information.
67.
Most are direct and dead into steel caissons.
Yeah, it's right on the line.
At this point, I'm really happy to answer questions, sure.
I noticed in your report dated July 3rd, 2017, and I'm trying to find a page number for you. The temporary impacts are going to be restored as part of the project, and it says that you're going to give Eversource reports in regards to this. Is it going to be a monthly type
Correct. We
report?
do weekly construction monitoring reports for the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan.
Okay.
There's something called a construction general permit that EPA issues for projects over an acre of disturbance and size. So there'll be weekly reports. And then typically DES asks for a post-construction report 60 days after the end of construction, and that summarizes all the activities.
Okay. Is there a way for us to get, for planning to get those, so we can have those in our files?
Not a problem.
Great.
And I did offer to Evan, too, if there's any questions at all during the project, we're very happy to have site walks with staff, answer questions.
Okay.
Where are you with Belmont and Guilford?
We have had at least one meeting with all towns. Guilford, we don't actually have any work. We don't have any impacts of any sort. So they're the only town where we don't have an application, but they'll be certainly copied as an abutter on the wetland application. We've submitted similar permits to Tilton. We've met with Franklin, and we've met with Belmont.
Do you need planning board approval in all those?
Some, but not all. But we meet with all the conservation commissions. Franklin happens to have a height variance. They don't regulate buffers, although they certainly regulate wetland impacts. So it's a little different in each town. Tilton is similar, though, so we've submitted a conditional use permit in Tilton.
When do you plan to start work again?
So it looks like it'll be October, pending permits and materials.
And when do you expect
It'll-
to finish?
It'll last for roughly a year. And Donna will provide more tangible, specific updates as we get our permits and everything's lined up.
Okay. Just keep us in the loop. I know
Oh,
you know
definitely.
that.
Yeah.
There's wetlands and there's wetlands. What
Yep.
category of wetland would this be?
Well said.
Is it pretty swampy or pretty on the dry end?
So, not to speak for Evan, but I think that was really what he was looking at Structure 150. And he said he was surprised that you can't tell it's a wetland until your feet are in it. So that was his comment. But we obviously monitor all wetlands as wetlands, you know,
Yeah.
so,
Thank you.
sure.
Any more questions? Any more from the applicant? You all, such a person? Anything from the board? Any questions? Okay. Any public that want to make any comments on this project? What's going on? Okay, then I'll close the public hearing at 7:21. And can we have the staff review on that, please?
Sure. This application was very thorough. We really didn't have any issues with it as we reviewed it. Conservation Commission had an opportunity to review it. I haven't had a chance to go out to the site. So you'll see we have no requested plan revisions. We have our pretty minimal standard conditions. Nothing out of the unusual. Nothing out of the usual. There are some typos on the project completion deadlines, as you probably are used to at this point, because I can't get them to stick when I change them. So the plan revisions would be not applicable because we didn't request any, and the completion date would actually be August 7th, 2018, not July of next year. But other than that, it was a very clean application. They've got a lot of very good mitigation and prevention measures in place.
Any comments from the board? Okay. Open for a motion from the board to accept this application.
I move that we accept the application on the wetland buffer, PL 2017-0089 Cup.
Is it seconded?
Second.
Any discussion?
Only want to tack on the conditions? Have you done that?
Yeah, you should include the condition.
As presented in our documents with the conditions attached as recommended by the staff.
I think that needs to be part of the record.
I like that approach.
And
I
we're
agree with
changing
that
the
approach.
completion deadline to what again, Brandy?
August
Second.
7th, 2018.
So we're going to put on conditions 1 through 4, all-inclusive, right?
Yep.
Just so we're clear.
So he amended the motion a little bit, but you're fine with
Yes,
that, I guess,
yep.
okay.
Yep.
All right. We have a second on that,
Second.
okay? Let's have a vote on it, all in favor? Any
Yes.
opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you.
Ms. Tar?
So how long might power be out, you know?
Pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you back 8,000. It's better you give her the paper now.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Oh, you want this too? I'll give you mine back for your next board meeting, because planning board.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. We have
What are your buddies here? Thanks.
all your good work, you're giving it back. No one even put a fingerprint on it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
We'll go into application acceptance. Is this application for 67 Province Road complete and ready for our review or for hearing?
Yes, it is.
It is, okay. Then the motion is accepted. Can we have a motion to accept this? This applicant?
I move to accept.
And seconded, okay, in favor? So we'll schedule a public hearing September 5th, next meeting, okay. Moving on to the next one, which is on
Take a
Union
vote.
Ave.
Got to take a vote.
We got a vote.
You're going to vote for that on last one?
All in favor of?
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, none, okay, good. The next one is 1212 to 1214 Union Ave, a proposal to merge two lots and construct two-family condominium. Again, is this complete, ready for?
It is.
Okay. You have a motion to accept this applicant? Motion to accept it?
You say it was?
Yep.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
It's on the
Second.
back of the page. Yeah, we
Do we have a second on that?
We haven't got it.
Second.
I don't see
On the
anything.
back side of the main page.
All in favor for a public hearing on September 5th? Raise your hand. Thank you. All right, so it goes unanimously. Okay. New business, nothing on new business. Anybody have any new business you want to bring up?
I think we need,
Yeah.
I think we need another member from the planning board to volunteer to serve on the capital improvements.
Oh, yeah.
Program?
Okay, yep.
Committee.
Every year we go through a CIP, and this year here we have Ham left, so we need a member to sit in. We have one opening, I should say we have one opening, and I
We
know.
have two openings, if I understand correctly. I think we have two openings. So Pam is no longer here and someone else is unable to. Oh, okay, never mind. So Jay is interested and then we have one more opening.
Well, Gail, are you doing it this year?
I'm not able to, I'm having surgery.
So don't we have two openings? That's where the other one comes. So,
I was able to do it because I did it with Bill and I did it with Gail.
okay. Anybody else want to sit on the CIP and work with the no one, okay.
If you guys have questions about how it works or what the time commitment is or something like that, let us know. And maybe at the September meeting, if someone's willing to step up, the board can nominate them at that point.
Right, okay. So right now, we have one that's accepted, okay.
Do we vote on him, or just,
Chair appoints, I believe.
okay.
Are you going to discuss?
You got the power.
Are you going to discuss
How
the
about you?
scoring?
Not me.
We will when we get
Hey.
closer.
September?
The favor's not around, you're gonna have to, so we're gonna have to, remind me, I'm sorry.
I was going to ask, Brandy,
not see
is she
this
going to
package.
explain the scoring?
Yeah.
that comes-
No, I'll be explaining at the first meeting, like we usually do.
Okay, all right.
Okay? Right.
It would just be a one sheet.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, we're just talking about
It must have been this one.
the application PDF.
That's it. We looked
Yeah, it
at
wouldn't
these
be the whole
together.
file at this point because the plans are being revised.
Okay, well, it just says these three things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's this one, and then that was that.
Okay, got those. Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
Any other new business we want to talk about?
Under new?
Yes, on the new,
No more new business.
no more new business, okay. How about
He's
old
already on the
business?
old business.
Old business we had out there was the impact fee, and we'll continue it on from July 11th. Do we want to discuss that today, or do we want to continue it on?
I have a very brief discussion, if you'd like.
I just want to get a brief history of it, and then, like, so we can get our teeth into it at the next meeting, maybe.
And then we can see how it can dovetail with the
Yeah,
master
I
plan, I
just-
guess, all right,
I
okay.
can give you a very brief history,
That'd be great, Dean.
all right? And I mean brief.
Okay. Are you done yet?
No, almost, though. So, several years ago, various planning organizations and cities and towns in the state recognize that when new development comes on, that they're adding to the demand on existing facilities and may be part of or may actually trigger a need for expansion of existing facilities. So the idea of the impact fee came into being. Laconia adopted the concept of the impact fee, so as did many communities in the state. And if you look at our thing, we have an impact fee for schools, police, fire, recreation, roads, and the library. And of those, the public school is the biggest, followed by, surprisingly, roads and recreation. The total fee, as according to the schedule that was adopted by the planning board and then the city council, and this was several years ago, it's $7,630 for a single-family home, just as an example. There are different numbers for different types of structures, and the non-residential has a per square foot type fee. Just as, so $7,630 is Laconia's fee. Now, we don't charge that, and I'll get to that in a moment. Just as comparison, Concord's fee is $5,703, so about $2,000 less, and Dover's is $5,644. Ours is $7,630. However, in 2010, the city council adopted the policy that we would only charge 25% of the impact fee. So that $7,600 becomes $1,907 for a single-family home, and all the others are adjusted downward. And this is just my speculation right now. I believe that was done because the feeling was that $7,600 was a little steep in 2010 when we were coming out of the recession, and we're trying to give people a break to
When did we adopt these? In 2010?
11, right?
2011?
this level, yeah.
Okay, two questions.
Yeah.
Is Concord's impact fee reduced by anything?
Yeah.
So that's not reduced by
No,
anything?
they pay
And
$5,700.
how did we come up with the numbers? How did we come up with, say, I know it's different for everybody, but how did we come up with 76?
We hired a consulting firm to review and come up with the fee structure based on projected needs and potential future needs. And so that's where, so obviously, just a single-family home, that's what I've been using as an example.
Yeah.
Obviously, someone builds a single-family home, the likelihood of an impact to the public schools is pretty high.
I assume this is available online?
Yeah, this is, it's online, it's on the new city website, it's part of the zoning ordinance,
Okay.
Yep. All right. So, that's basically the history, and that's where we are right now, and, I'm fine with the impact fee the way it is. If there is a desire on someone's part, either the planning board's desire to recommend to the city council to do something differently, or there's a desire of the city council to do something differently with the impact fee, what I would suggest would be to do some type of a graduated increase instead of 25%, maybe the next fiscal year to go to 30%, and the year after that you go to 35%, and the year after that you go to 40%, or however far you want to go with the discount. Just, the need, shall we say, of giving developers a break that was there in 2010, 2011 is not necessarily there in this day and age. They all complain about the impact fee. They all complain about it in every city and town about the impact fee. So, whether you raise it or you don't raise it, they're going to complain either way. So, that's not a factor as far as I'm concerned.
So, I have a question. Do you really believe the impact is the $7,600? Because we're giving them the discount. Does the town pick up the rest of the burden through its tax structure rather than through an impact fee?
If we were to build any new facilities in any of these categories, with the exception of roads, obviously we're doing things with roads all the time, then the answer to that question would be yes. There would be a disproportionate share of whatever we spend would be on current taxpayers, existing taxpayers, as opposed to future taxpayers. And it may well be that the future taxpayers are what's causing the problem. Not necessarily in every case, but in generally speaking. So, yeah, we are losing money. We have made a conscious decision to do that. So, I'm fine from that standpoint. If we want to continue to consciously make that decision, that's fine, too. But if we want to make a different decision, my recommendation would be to just gradually increase the percentage.
Do it incrementally, like 30% reduction.
If you did a 5% increase every fiscal year, for instance,
Yeah.
for the next 3 years, or however you wanted, whatever is acceptable to people, then you'd still be giving a very significant discount to the fee structure. You'd still be less than most communities in the state, but you would be gaining some extra
Just,
revenue.
now, that number can fluctuate by each category, I think, right? In other words, we have roads in there, and let's say it's one of these developments that we just came through. They're putting in their own roads, they're doing their own plowing, they're doing this, they're doing that. But yet,
Two-family.
into that category in roads, there's a charge for that. Now, does that go away?
No, because as soon as they leave their project, they're on city roads. The object, for roads, for instance, it's not the road that the new house, per se, is necessarily going to be on. It's all the roads they're going to use to do their shopping, to go to school, to go to church, to go to work, go whatever. I mean, we all drive around the streets of Laconia. I think we all know the roads need a little bit of attention.
So just out of curiosity, if you took a two-unit structure and converted that to a single-family detached, does the city pay the person to do that because they're lessening the impact?
No.
So I have a
I mean, is it entirely up to the planning board to set these fees?
We would recommend to the city council.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would, I don't think that you just want to pull some numbers out of the hat. I mean, I think you'd want to do some type of a study to see, and the CIP is a very good way of doing that, to see what kind of projects are potentially in the works in the next 6 years.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Why don't we take a look at the capital improvements projects, and we can start with the capital improvements projects that we addressed this year in this year's budgets, and some of the proposals that we had that we sort of rejected in terms of that. And that might be a way to approach it. But I'm not wedded to that, and I don't know what I'm doing. Let's be clear. I have no clue how to go about this. So I'm just trying to find a way that, for example, if you look at the types of development, why are we singling out non-residential development in the way that we do? That may be a very good reason, but, it seems to me that office, institutional, commercial services might have more of an impact than we're giving it credit for. So I'm just saying,
So I'm with you, David, but I also have a question procedurally about, there's a lot of policy questions tied into making a recommendation, and I'm wondering, what's the policy venue we have here, or authority? What does the council discuss in terms of policy? How much we subsidize, how much we don't subsidize, et cetera. I just don't know how those two pieces fit. If we came back in, having done all our analysis, and said, yes, these are really the right rates, would we be recommending that we increase maybe from 25 to 30%, and then the city council debates it? Our recommendation around the policy, how much can we afford, the sustainability of this with our plans for growth? I just want to know whether we debate that or whether they debate that.
It's also how the fees get used. This is such a complicated topic, and having worked in the schools, we were a recipient of a lot of that in Dover. And does it help fund a stream of payments through a capital reserve? Because an impact, it's so hard to measure. And then again, like 3 buildings could come into town and have 0 impact on the school, but that next building forces you to actually build a whole new school or change class sizes. And then you're like, well, did that building cause the impact, or did it all the future? So doing a study to really understand, now that these fees have been around for a while, what's their value? They could actually hurt a community too, as, I mean, we just said we're going to subsidize it. Are we? Because if you had left this at 100%, then you may have hurt your community more, and you would be subsidizing your community even more by not having the fee. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like...
I get you.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's very-
what we need to do is, I mean, I don't know of anybody, with the exception of you 3, or the planning department, that has the expertise, maybe you, Bill, I don't know, that has the expertise to approach this. Maybe we need to hire somebody to examine these impact fees if we're really going to fundamentally address them, like we did in 2010 or 2011. But I don't know if the money's there to do that.
Well, that, I'm not sure on that point, but the idea of hiring someone, a consultant, is what most communities do, and the biggest reason is it's very defendable in court, because it's not us setting the rates, and someone could say...
We have some empirical evidence to rely on.
Exactly, but it's not us setting the rates, trying to promote or fund whatever our pet projects might be. There's an expert that comes in and says, this is what it's going to cost you in the future for police, this is what it's going to cost you for recreation, and so therefore your fees should be this. And that's very defendable in court, and that's the reason that most communities hire one of these outside consultants.
I'm not so interested in court. I'm just interested in having some empirical...
I'd like to stay out of court if you don't mind.
Well, I think they're both
I
the
get
same.
you.
Both are served by the same means of it, and I think I would also like to understand the value of these fees. When they came in, they were kind of a popular thing. A lot of people were starting to adopt them, and then everybody started trying to, get rid of them and waive them and do all these other things.
You can keep track of the impact fees, and we got them on the city on the Laconia website, so you can track the exact number that we've got from impact fees for the schools, for
You
the...
could see, too,
And
you've
I
had
know-
lowering enrollment, so you can say the impact of all this building was actually a net loss of enrollment over that same period. So what impact was the building that occurred? So you charge fees that and you would have had to support that.
That's why we need a study.
And I know,
I know,
and I know
I
anecdotally
support
from a
that.
couple of towns where they were saying, we went and we did this right thing of saying, let's give them 25%. But now we're looking back on the last 10 years and saying, we really couldn't afford that. And the growth has just been too fast.
Or there's been, in that period of time, there hasn't been growth.
Or hasn't been growth.
Well,
but
let's just-
anecdotally, I've heard that.
Let's
I
just...
think I'm not
We need
sure
more-
what
we
we
need
should
more
be dating
analysis.
We need more
available now,
analysis.
but my question goes to, do we have all the fees that we've charged? Can we go and point to, the police department got so much money based on that? Do we know if we, in the aggregate, since at $190,000, I'm making up a number now.
Yeah.
Do we know in fact, 10% of that went to the police department? Do we break it out that way? Or is it
Yes, we
just going
do.
to
I
the
mean,
mix?
You do that.
They go into reserve funds, they go into reserve funds, they're not for operations.
Correct.
They're not spent as we either earn
Are
them.
there Okay, so the other
So they're
question I have is
sitting,
that
for the
are
most
they-
part, they've been sitting
Sitting and waiting
sitting
for
in an
something
account,
to
waiting
return.
for us to do something with them. I mean, occasionally, some of these monies have been spent because we've done things.
Oh, okay.
But for the most
Do we know
part,
what the
they're,
aggregate number is in
I
that
don't.
way?
For the most part, we just keep them separate.
yeah.
I have a
There's
question.
specific reasons for the use, and they get approved.
So why don't we just do a study?
Yeah.
Why don't we just get together and figure out, one, what the future may hold for us, get some empirical data, empirical evidence about where we're at. Two, whether the structure we're using now, in terms of allocation to public schools, police, fire, recreation, all of that, is appropriate or needs to be addressed. And three, whether the non-residential development needs to be addressed. That would be my recommendations in terms of what we're doing. And that makes sense to me. But again, this huge caveat, I do not know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so based on that, I think we'd also need that on the master planning to know what those dollars are and maybe how they should be allocated in the future. So I think it's a two-pronged thing that we're
You
talking
can
about.
certainly use that information in the
Yes.
master plan,
Most
what
certainly
we're
we can.
doing.
And I think it's really important, when you get to this whole document at the end, when it gets into the role of the planning board, we have the power to waive the impact fees up to 60 and 80%. So we need to understand the rationale and what the consequences are if we do so waive.
If I remember correctly, we've had applicants come in, and the impact fee had been $1,100. I don't know.
My sense is that...
So that was asked, that we were asked to waive that, so you know, that full number, that 1,900. But we want to verify that, I guess. But yeah, we've done that in the past, so you know.
We have waived impact fees in the past.
Yes.
Yes, a
It's just we
portion
don't
of
know
it,
what the
right,
consequences of waiving them have been,
Right.
right?
No,
Or
I don't
vice
think that's
versa.
true. We've waived them in situations where, I know that Beacon Street West, when they came online, because they were restoring a significant old structure and that had been around for a long time and making improvements, there was a policy decision to waive the impact fees in those types of projects. And I know that it caught me by surprise when it came up because they had forgot to ask for the waiver in the beginning, and we gave it to them at the end. So, I mean, long past the time that they had come online, but, so there is policy reasons for doing it. All I want to know is, I don't mind examining reasons why we should waive it or not waive it, but I don't think that's a discussion for an expert or for somebody who's going to examine our impact fees and what the bases are. I think that's an internal policy discussion that we might want to have, but again...
I would ask that part of that study also include the value of these. So, we have historic data on this.
That's a good way to
and the
gauge it.
value of them, because, there's a reason why they've been waived so often.
Okay.
If you look at it, the city doesn't pay someone to reverse an impact, which was, I said this in jest, but it's the same thing. And yet, how do you value the impact? There is not a two-way street on it to the incentive to improve. The city's not giving back money to people for that either.
I think that's a good idea.
And I think that's why in so many communities, these have been a bone of contention. How they get used is it's often confusing. So you're like, I don't see this. You've seen the expansion that the consultants have come in to say was going to happen from these impacts, never did, or did even more. And then a lot of city councils and governing bodies also use fees like this in a tax cap situation to justify not improving their facilities.
Right.
And so when you see an impact, like you need to build a new school because of neglect for 50 years, you're like, well, then that's because we didn't charge enough in impact fees. Well, no, you just simply neglected it over a long period of time.
You ignored it, and it fell apart.
And that has nothing to do with individual impacts. So it's really, if we could get an intelligent picture of the value of these kinds of fees in a, over time, I would definitely be interested in seeing that. And I'm not that knowledgeable in it as well. So that's why I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think that ties into the incoming demographics, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, which is something we're grappling with the master plan. We want to create development, not squelch it.
Exactly. So what happens if someone comes with an over 55 community? Does that eliminate the schools completely? You know what I mean?
So you're going to have that conversation with Scott in terms of financing?
No, because that community's gone in 20 years.
Pardon me?
No, I'm just kidding.
Dean, having lived in the city for the last 8
When they
years,
sell it to another
they've built
55-year-old.
4 new elementary schools.
I have 3 children, and I want
One
to
middle
want you to
school.
know I was not ready for
In
that
addition,
impact
on the high
fee.
school, a new police station and a new fire station. That's all money that's been spent out of the city's coffers. So there's an easy way to measure that money and what it's going into.
Yeah,
So that could be a good
know where
starting
it's coming
point
from.
for us to begin with.
Okay.
That'll give you an idea of what we should be looking at.
All right.
These schools are all nice schools.
Yep. So don't put it off for next month, because I won't be ready next month.
Okay. When do you want to
Bill
do
and I
it?
went to the...
I'll let you know.
Just maybe at least an update,
All right.
like where you stand or
All
something
right,
like
well, I'm
that.
going to just bring back a report to the council at our next meeting that said we had this discussion. We decided that the way to approach this is to gather some empirical evidence, get somebody with knowledge to evaluate where we're at and that kind of stuff, so. And if you're in a hurry, don't tell me.
Yeah, I think it's some things are going to come together, all, in the things, those meetings that we do have, so we might. Okay, is that it on old business? Planning Department report?
As you can see, we're using the new agenda tool, and a couple of minor little changes in the order, and a little more verbose, but that's okay. I think overall we'll be in good shape here.
Just a little reasoning, why do we put the acceptance of the minutes that, we just brought it from the bottom to the top? Why, any particular reason on that?
That's to standardize all of the boards through the city.
Okay, not because it has a
Right.
different...
I've been recommending this for all the time I've been on the planning department, the liaison to the planning board, and for the most part, the former chairman was, no, I'm just going to do it the old way.
Well, maybe, okay, I was just curious, okay. Liaison reports, Lake Region Planning Commission, we don't have that. Conservation, usually Bernie jumps in on that, I don't know if you want to.
I mean, they've been working on the gardens mostly, now that that has been passed. They have looked at a few other projects that we saw tonight. They're looking at some upcoming projects, some pretty big projects that may or may not come before the board at some point soon. And the last minute memo tonight was a little bit out of character. We apologize for that.
Okay.
We'll work on timing in the future.
That's okay. You said the guidance being approved, what was that, they had a final dot and T crossing on that?
Well, I mean, the board approved it last month, so
Yeah.
prior to that, they'd been pretty taken up their time with
Okay.
reviewing the.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And council, any city council input?
No, just the planning impact stuff. We're moving on with the collaboration between the city council, the planning board, and the public. Dean, Liz, and you know about that with respect to our master plan. We've sort of come up with a final draft of our vision statement, and we're moving on to our land use section, and I think we've had a couple of productive sessions, and we're scheduled for more, and I hope to get through this before the snow flies.
Well, before
That's my
that.
hope.
Would be good.
Yeah, I think you and Mike are, moving that along pretty good. Thank you for your work on that, and thank you for everybody for their inputs, that's for sure. Okay, is there anything else we want to talk about by chance? Well, then do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I
So
second.
there's somebody here in the public who's,
Yeah? Yes.
Can I just say something?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry, come on.
I can't hear you either.
Come on up, Dorothy.
I just wanted to explain to everybody why I was here, in case you wondered. I had no idea I was going to be here for such a long period of time to listen to your
This is early for planning board.
debate.
This is early.
Can you tell the board your name and where you're?
My name is Dorothy Duffy. I am a resident in 47 Whipple Avenue. I moved away to Long Island, lived there for 40 years, returned to my lovely home, my lovely community. I am on the Heritage Commission, and we kind of wanted to connect with the planning board. We wanted to make a presence known. We wanted to work with you. We hope that you will work with us. I have the greatest respect for all of you. I may not agree with everything you do, but I respect you because you're volunteering. And when you're volunteering, you're giving back to your community, which means you love your community. I don't think you came in with agendas. I didn't come in with agendas. If you did come in, that one agenda dragged you in, and you have dozens of agendas now. This community is receiving the services of boards and commissions like us. We come and we go. Right now, you have a wonderful board. You're very diversified. Your board is almost totally complete, I believe. And that's progress right there. A lot of people don't want to donate their time. But we're going to be leaving, and when we're leaving, our community is the same, basically. It doesn't make the changes as quickly as we do. We have codes that are slower to change. We have culture. So we have to be careful that we aren't making a decision just for our generation. We're making this decision for the future generation and for the past generation. We are using their skills and their talents that they passed on to us. So the Heritage Commission would like to come maybe once a month, so you may see some others here. It was a very awkward situation for me sitting back there for quite a long time with nothing to talk about. But there were items that came up on your agenda this evening. The Heritage Commission, for example, is in charge of demolition, and you have demolition of a piece of property on Eastman Shore. These are things that we are encountering quite often. When you change easements and abutments, it may seem like a minor change, but if it affects a neighborhood or a neighbor adversely, it's not a good change all the time. I've encountered that myself. Just wanted to introduce myself, give you a round of applause for all the work that you do. In spite of all the changes, and Brandy knows there's been a lot of changes going on, and she's taken over and she's done an excellent job, and I like her hairdo. So here I am. I'm happy to meet you. Some of you I know already.
Let me ask you a question. What would you like to do with the planning board? How would you like to engage us? Would you like a slot on the agenda for a Heritage Commission report? Would you like
Not
something
necessarily.
like that?
Yeah, I think when I was sitting back there, I was thinking, I wanted to print out the agenda. I can't afford to buy ink for my volunteer services anymore. Ink is very expensive for me, and I seem to go through it a lot. I think your whole agenda was probably 20 pages. I would like to have done it.
The agenda is 2 pages long.
Well, the agenda is, but the background information, which is what you need. I go on Vision Appraisal. I try to study. I feel like, okay, I have this job. I'm almost 83. Nothing's staying here very much anymore. I can't hear you, but I want to be involved. So I research, but then I can forget what I read all about Eastman Shore before. So I would like an agenda sent to the Heritage Commission on the planning board.
That is
And if you-
easy to do.
That's easy to do.
We can send the Heritage Commission an agenda. When we get the agendas ready, we can send them over to you. That's easy to do. And if you'd like some input at the meeting, you can come to the meeting, and maybe we can do it early so she can go home and go to bed like
Well,
me.
yeah, I think you'd have to get on the agenda in an appropriate amount of
You
time.
must be old if you're going to go to bed at 8 o'clock, David.
You should have to get on the agenda at appropriate timing, that is, so he'll tell you what
Yeah.
it takes
And
to
if-
get on the
if
agenda.
you wanted to-
I want to be open to
Yeah.
Heritage Commission input, them being a part of the process, you getting all the information that you need. If you need anything, don't call me, call them.
Well, the other thing is, the Heritage Commission is almost the same ilk. We're wonderful, nostalgic, white-haired ladies, very devoted to the community. We need some young blood. We need men. We need somebody that has more expertise than we have. We have managed so far. I was part and parcel of forming the Heritage Commission. I want to hang on to it. I don't want it to go. And so I'll come calling. I have trouble hearing. I have trouble hearing all of you. If you were sitting there, you probably would have trouble hearing too, some of you. So that's an issue that I find with city council, with certain people and any boards. So you all have microphones. I think you need to speak into the microphones a little bit better. I think the man, I didn't get his name, that presented information about East Shore.
Roger that, Dorothy.
Okay. David, I hear you quite often.
Dorothy, isn't Charlie St. Clair sit with you people?
He did, but now he's sitting with you.
Yeah, but
And
doesn't
he
do
was
both?
we kind of
So-
used him as a liaison when he was an alternate.
Right.
But Charlie, is in,
Yeah, I know where he is, yep, okay.
he's on his bike someplace all over the place talking to cows. So hearing an agenda, if you want a connection to us, yes, and because I'm the age that I am, 82, I'm trying to recruit somebody to replace me. And I'm always looking for members when somebody expresses an interest, but usually the people that I approach are like you, people that are already doing everything. But I still try. So keep that in mind. I'm looking for the Heritage Commission. I'm also looking for any of the zoning board and planning board whenever I see somebody that I think has a genuine interest in our community and has an expertise. You don't have to be a professional. Somebody that is interested is probably the most important person.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
thank you
you for-
very much, Dorothy.
Thank you, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Do we have a motion to,
Before we do, I just had one other agenda item. I've been in 2 meetings or 3 meetings where we've had people from the public who aren't on the agenda, and they don't quite know when they can talk. At the council meetings, you have a little window for 10 minutes or something up front
For items,
for items not covered on the agenda.
there's 2 items. One, public impact for items on the agenda, and 2, public impact for items not on the agenda. But it's a little different. It's a little different
Yes,
because
but I was,
the city council will schedule public hearings because we're required to do that. But we're doing public hearings at almost every meeting because we're required to get public input with respect
yes,
to the project.
my thought was not in that realm. My thought was, is there anybody in the meeting who's not on the agenda, part of the formal agenda? In other words,
well,
the groups like
that's good intention, I hear you. But sometimes we'll go to 11:30.
I know,
And
that's
so,
why I
I
was-
mean, and, so I would, if someone wanted to talk, I think they should go to the planning department, see if they can get on the agenda, and let's see if we can block that time out, because if we got an aggressive agenda, I mean, then
I'm with
we
you.
don't
I
have the
just
time to
wanted
do
a
it.
process where
Right.
it was publicly known. If you want to go on the agenda, call the planning board, and we'll give you 10 minutes or something.
Well, yeah.
If it's not around a specific
Well, we
case.
could put millions.
You want to add an agenda item?
No. I think our agendas are full, but I'm saying that I've been in 3 meetings where people have waited until the
This is the
end, and
fir-
they haven't...
this is the first one I've heard of.
No, there has been a couple of
Darius-
others.
Sure they want reporters, because we also
Yeah.
have, there's a lot of people that will sit here and watch a meeting,
Yeah.
but they never intend to talk.
She's the first one that hung to the end here, and then we
Had
didn't
several
know.
reporters
Right.
that listen to the
Yeah.
meeting.
Well, I withdraw my suggestion, and we'll just see...
But we'll see how it surfaces and see, how it
You have reminded me of another reason why.
You can put it, if you want to be on the agenda, just
Dorothy,
contact you.
if I had known you wanted to speak to the planning board tonight, I would have made a special motion to move you to the top of the agenda. But now you're last.
That's why everybody likes you, David. You reminded me of the agenda. Let's say, for example, the reason why the Heritage Commission really got passed, even though we tried years before, but came to the attention of everybody, was when the Hathaway House was going to be demolished. And that's when we formed our committee. we were kind of hoodwinked on a lot of things and delayed putting the back burner until wham, bang, it's on
let's
the
not
front
go into
burner.
that history.
We had
Let's
to
not
hurry
go
up
into
with
that
that.
I don't think anybody in this board would with anybody,
Let's-
to be honest.
But then, the other thing is,
Can, Dorothy, if you want to get on the agenda, go to the planning department, we'll see if we can get you on the
Yeah.
agenda. But I really want to close the meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So can I have a motion to
I
close?
move that we close the meeting.
Can I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor? All right, meeting's ended, thank you.
I just wanted information to come to us sometime before, because maybe we should do the research and
I
homework
think you're on,
before.
I think you're on the distribution, but we'll check with that. I think if you have a piece of property that goes beyond a certain date, you people are notified. It's that old, and, you know, before they can demolish it, you people are in the network, I believe.
The other thing, identifying that piece of property, when you say like 125 Elm Street or something like that,
butter, Dorothy, you get
doesn't ring a bell with a lot of people. Thank you for listening to me.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody.